I haven't been able to find any modern game where you manage an assembly line, and perhaps that's quite understandable. I mean, it's a pretty goofy concept and doesn't sound particularly fun. However, this retro gem available on the Macintosh does tackle just that. It's called Factory, the Industrial Devolution. The game more or less falls into the strategy puzzle genre. In order to record this, I've had to use an emulation tool called SheepShaver. I was hoping to use it on my old Mac itself, however it's not capable of capturing video at a high enough frames per second for a pleasant viewing experience. SheepShaver itself works pretty well. If you didn't have an old Mac, that is how you would play this. In order to edit this together, I've used iMovie. I can say that has not been fun. I hate this program. I'm going to have to buy something better very soon. If you want to give this game a whirl, it's available for download at the Macintosh Garden. It's a fantastic abandonware site for little games like this. I do thoroughly recommend you go and check it out. So put in your name, and if you have an existing game, you'll be given a check. It's like a password. We start on level 1. This is the month called December. It comes as the standard set of levels with the game, particularly if you haven't registered. However, the code is freely available now. This first product is Halitosis X mouthwash. Split the caps from the bottles, and the bottles will be filled with said mouthwash. It's a rather horrible green liquid, but I wouldn't put that in my mouth, particularly with a big X on the front. Looks like poison. Still, presumably these things will sell. To interact with the contents of the assembly line, there is various bits and pieces that you will click. This is obviously level 1, and so there's not very much to do. Simply use the red arrows to send the correct components in the correct directions, and they'll more or less sort themselves out. The game's objective is to fill the truck with the desired number of products. The quota itself is stated at the top of the screen. This is 3, and I can send in a maximum of 6 to get extra points. Once I've hit the maximum, or I've selected in the menu bar to go home for the day, we'll enter the level evaluation screen. It'll tell you how well you've done, if you've made any mess, and what you've earned as a result of all of that. Good stuff. The opening levels will, one by one, introduce you to each of the game's elements. As trivial as they may be, they probably don't all need their own level. The purpley blue receptacles store the items for when you need them. This is after they have been sorted. If the wrong item gets into the wrong receptacle, you've pretty much lost everything within it. So if you've stored up a load of bags and then a little star gets in, you've lost all the bags. If you let anything that you've wrecked into the van, you will be penalised. Sometimes, in some levels, you will see just next to the van there is a little pipe with an X on it. All defects go down there. It's not apparent, but the product here is actually a box of cereal. You have a bag and you have a free gift, which is the star. In order to complete the production process, a bag is fitted with a star, and then cereal goes in, and then it's sealed and printed on. Little Elmo there. In order to successfully make a product, you need one of each item. So you need to make sure that there are stars within the star receptacle when you send the bags through. The next level is more of the same, but with shoes and their boxes. There is little of interest I can add here. Before you start each level, you're presented with an assembly guide. You may find this useful. You may find it utterly pointless. It doesn't look like the assembly line in the slightest. This is me not paying enough attention. I have let a label get into the carton section. Now, in order to minimise the damage, I've let all the cartons out of the receptacle in the hope that they can get through the production process without being mangled by the stray label. Concentrating on damage limitation with the first rogue label has let a second through. This is a big quirk of the game. If you make one mistake, chances are you'll make a dozen more, particularly in the later levels when there were always several things going on at once. In order to minimise any problems that a series of mistakes might make, you can turn down the speed of the conveyor belt. However, the levels are timed. If you do not meet your quota in the specific time, you can see the clock in the top centre of the screen there, showing me how long I've got. It is therefore best to keep the conveyor belts running as fast as possible for as long as possible. See, I have 3 defective products. That equates to $5 lost and a total of $15 deducted from my wage. Here I'm assembling burgers. Pretty simple, but I still make a hash of it. Back at the calendar overview, you're briefed on the next task. It explains that these yum bars are in various states of completion. So here we're just assigning the machinery to either operate on what's coming through or to leave it alone. After that brief introduction with the concept, you're thrust into this cookie factory. Split the bags from the trays, and the bags will sit on those little pedestals there until you release them. The trays will be filled with cookie dough, baked, and put on one of those little sections here. You can see one just falling down, to be put into the bag as and when they are required. Now obviously you can only hold 3 of each type, and if they're all set to red as a bag comes through, too many trays will be applied to the bag. You can't really do this on full speed, or at least I can't. See? Luckily there is a garbage tube to put any misfits down, and plenty of time to get this completed. This concept, where you're generally just prodding things with the mouse, would work perfectly on a modern mobile device. This is the kind of thing that I'd play on the train to work in the morning to wake my mind up. It doesn't need sound, so it's quite communal friendly in that respect. I mean, the sounds are pretty basic. They perhaps add a little bit, but, you know, I wouldn't miss this. If I had to complain about something about the game, it would perhaps be some of the levels. They can get a bit dull if the quota is high. However, there are so many different levels to choose from as a result of the game coming with an editor. Loads and loads of player-created levels were made during the game's lifespan, and they're all included in the Map Garden download. I will briefly look at a few of them. They do vary in quality in terms of how much effort the person who made them was prepared to put in the graphics. That is a stapler. And those are some staples. This is pretty simple stuff. This offering is a bit more creative. Here we're making Pez dispensers. Get the box, put the dispenser in it, which you have to assemble up top. I've made a mess there. To complete the product, 3 units of Pez are inserted, but I've only got 2. I have released the box and Pez dispenser far too early. And made another mess. Bollocks. So that's gameplay. Briefest of brief looks at the editor here. Here's one I made earlier. It's a Steelworks. Out of the dispenser tube will come iron, limestone and coal, and smelting it in the correct order will produce a bar of steel. As a result of doing this on SheepShaver, some of the graphics that I've created, there they are, don't actually show up properly, which is lame, but if you played it on an actual Mac you would have no problems at all. I never said I was the artistic type. This is my attempt at a lump of limestone for the purification process of the pig iron. It doesn't look like anything that anyone could ever associate with limestone, more like a rather revolting lump of lard. Still, it's easy enough to make the graphics that you'll need, so no real gripes with that. That's more or less all I have to say about this. It's very good fun. It's a concept that really should be resurrected. This particular iteration is abandonware, so it's as cheap as free if you have the hardware, or can be bothered with SheepShaver. I think Basilisk II also runs it. So if you're interested, give it a go. Go on, you'll probably find it fun.